baseball romantics. Back to the Romantic About Baseball podcast. This is episode 2, and with me are my battery mates, Nico and Bruce. And we're here today. We're going to talk about, real quickly here, some breaking news that we have just come across as we were about to record this episode. So Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has signed a 14-year, $500 million extension with the Toronto Blue Jays. So that's been a big point of contention going in. With the Blue Jays cough up the dough, and they have. So real quickly, I want to get some reaction from Nico and Bruce. We'll start with Nico. Nico, your thoughts on this big news for Toronto?
Yeah, good morning, Jason, and good morning, Bruce. Good to be with you guys this morning. I'm pretty surprised. I really thought that Vladdy was gearing up for free agency. I didn't think that he was gonna. I didn't think he was happy in Toronto. I don't think he wasn't happy, but I don't think he was thrilled about the Blue Jays thus far in his career. I really thought that this was just going to be a pause in negotiations until the winter, and I anticipated that he would test free agency. So I'm very surprised, but I think it's a good thing for the Blue Jays. I think that that's their guy. They have to build around him now, and hopefully that's just the beginning of some good stuff for Toronto, because they've kind of been snake bitten when it comes to these marquee players, but they're keeping their own, and it's good for the Blue Jays. Yeah, I think that Vladdy could have gotten a little hint from his agent saying, hey, this might be the best contract you're going to get. You know what I mean? You're not going to be able to get close with Juan Soto, so you might as well take it. And I believe there's no deferrals in cash. That's what the reports are. So it looks like it's a straight ton of money. So good for Vlad and good for the Blue Jays.
2 words, right? Generational wealth.
Yeah.
Right. And Vladdy's got it. And his dad didn't do too bad either in the pocketbook area. So I think the Guerrero family is doing pretty well overall. But I think, Nico, you touched on a couple of things that are really important for the Blue Jays. So I'm talking about Blue Jays really quick, then I'll jump into Vladdy's camp. For the Blue Jays, they needed to prove to free agents everywhere that they're serious about winning. And I think this goes a long way to do that. They lock up their homegrown star talent who's effectively in Toronto the face of that franchise. So I think that was really important. If they lose Guerrero to free agency, who are the Blue Jays for the next decade? They're 4th place, 5th place team, and no one's going there. The other guys they thought were going to be studs, Biggio, etc., they weren't. They had, they're I'm not saying they're good ball players, but they weren't stars. They didn't contribute offensively the way the Blue Jays needed. Vlad Guerrero has been a big bat in that lineup, generally speaking. And I think the question that we have to ask for Vlad and the Blue Jays is, who is he as a player? Is he our 2021 48 homers, 111 RBIs, over 1,000 OPS guy? Is he the 2023 guy with a 788 OPS, right? So one guy is a $500 million guy. The other guy's not so much. So who's he going to be? Odds are somewhere in between, right? And he'll have probably a couple of those elite seasons in there. But if this contract brings in guys who can actually go to Toronto and play, unlike Matt Chapman, unlike, some of those other guys, unlike, and I love George Springer, but he hasn't quite lived up to who they thought he was going to be. And he's been hurt. There's various reasons why that is. But what is this going to do for the Blue Jays? This year, they're obviously not any better than they were a week ago. I still don't think they make the playoffs, all those things. But I do think that it at least lays the foundation for them to be better in the future, which is great for Toronto as a city and a franchise, especially with all the money they put into that stadium.
Yeah, definitely. So 2 quick thoughts. Vlad needs to become a recruiter. I mean, he's there now. That's his team. It's his city. He needs to recruit some buddies to come and help him win. And number 2, I feel like it's a catch-22 for these franchises. You don't spend money. The fans get upset. You don't draw. You don't win, Pittsburgh. you do spend money and you cripple yourself with some long-term contracts that may not work out, right? So, but the
And then
fans are happy
and then
right now.
Pittsburgh alienates half their fan base yesterday.
Yes. Yeah, we won't even go into that yet. But yes, definitely a mess of an ownership group there in Pittsburgh right now. So, all right, so that was big news. We wanted to touch on that real quick. So I want to tell you guys, first of all, thanks for listening. We've had some great reaction to our first episode. It is on Spotify and iTunes. We'll continue to expand and get that out on more platforms as we go. But super appreciate the feedback we've gotten from you guys on that first episode. This episode is going to be a little bit different, kind of a one-off. We wanted to share our personal baseball fandom stories, and we got a lot of questions about our backgrounds and how we became such big baseball lovers. And also, I got a couple questions about how I started the page or why I started the page. So I'm going to address that too. But our typical weekly format will be kind of a baseball weekend review, and we'll get back to that with episode 3. And we'll look back. Bruce is going to cover the National League for us. Nico is going to cover the American League. So you guys will get some really good detailed information on the week that was in baseball. So we'll kick that off next week with episode 3. Today, just wanted to talk a little bit our love for baseball. And that's really what this page was born out of. So a lot of you asked me that on the page and in Messenger, why I started the page and how it came about. So it's a very simple explanation, but I'll give you the quick details. Lifelong baseball fan, and I'll go into that a little bit at the end. But I wanted to create a page where we could reminisce about great times in baseball history, but also talk about the current game. And I didn't see a lot of pages out there that kind of did a great combination of both. Some pages do one or the other really well. I didn't see a lot that did both. Also, I didn't want like a trash talking page. There's a lot of trash talk out there. We have a little bit on our page. You can't help that. You can have a little trash talk. But for the most part, we try to keep it above board and make sure that all 30 teams, fans of all 30 teams, are welcome on our page to give feedback and make comments. As long as you're not a jerk about it, we're certainly open to the feedback. So I started a Facebook group just to get like-minded baseball people together. And the group was not moving along very quickly, so I started a page to advertise the group. Well, the page took off much quicker than the group ever did. The group still exists. If you want to join it, it's out there. It's Romantic About Baseball. We got about 2,500 members, but the page exploded from a couple thousand last opening day to well over 50,000 now as we enter 2025. So it made more sense for me to focus on the page at that point with all those people following us and try to put out some great content for you guys, engaging content. Sometimes it's hit or miss. It's hard to put out content consistently, but I got some great help now, and I'm very appreciative of the admins that we have now, Bruce and Nico being 2 of those. So that's the quick story. There's not much to that. It's just it kind of exploded on me. Never imagined that I'd be sitting here doing a podcast a year later, but really have enjoyed it. It's been a blast. Love baseball, love covering the game. So what we're going to do now is kick it to Nico. He's going to tell us a little bit about his personal baseball fandom story, and then we'll hear from Bruce after that. So Nico, tell us what cultivated your love of baseball.
Well, I can promise you before I start, it's not going to be as good as Bruce's, but hey, it's worth sharing, So
Everybody's story is
closer.
great, Nico. Come on.
Yeah.
Bruce is the Dennis Eckersley of podcast baseball. Okay.
Yeah. Bruce.
He's a mustache.
Our great closer. Yeah. I mean, for me, my baseball upbringing was kind of different. My love for the game began as a kid growing up in a small town in Connecticut. Being the son of Italian immigrants, it's safe to say that baseball wasn't the sport that I thought I would gravitate towards. It probably would be the last sport. But the moment I gripped the baseball for the first time as a kid and threw it, grabbed a baseball bat, gripped the baseball bat, when I signed up for T-ball as a kid, the thrill of playing ball was it was different. It was different than any other sport. They say that every baseball is every man's first love. In my case, it wouldn't be more true. I've been enamored with the game ever since that first swing and sprinting down to first base. Living in the Northeast, I was surrounded by the Mets, Red Sox, Yankees, I never considered myself a diehard fan of any of those teams, but I couldn't help by being captivated by those '04 Red Sox. Watching them break the curse and win the first World Series in 86 years was unforgettable. It was just special. While I don't consider myself a Red Sox fan, I still find myself pulling for them every season, even with my Mariners hat on. Sorry, Bruce.
Mariners are no threat, man.
Yeah. So like I said, growing up watching the Red Sox and watching that 04 series down 3-0, all the doubts and everything against them, and seeing them come back down from 3-0 was special. And so for that, I still pull for the Red Sox. But yeah, growing up as a kid, like I said, in a small town in Connecticut, I went to many New Brain Rockcats games. That may ring a bell for some of our listeners. It may not. They were the minor league affiliate of the Minnesota Twins. So I had the privilege of watching so many great players coming up, like Torrey Hunter, David Ortiz, Trevor Plouffe. There's a Trevor Plouffe shout out. And even more recently, Byron Buxton. So, it was a treat again to see those guys come up playing the game. And going to the games as a kid, 10, 11, 12 years old, and just the excitement of catching that foul ball, just catching that foul ball and just hoping you can just signal one of these guys to come down and, sign an autograph for you. And something that I'll always take with me is watching those New Brain Rockcats teams growing up as a kid. With that being said, my passion and fandom lies with the Seattle Mariners. It was that 2001 Mariners team that won me over. Watching Ken Griffey Jr. with that sweet swing, and alongside Ichiro when he came here from Japan, Edgar Martinez, Joey Cora, Jay Buhner, so many others, right? I mean, that 2001 Mariners team was great. Fortunately, they lost in the playoffs to the Yankees. But with that being said, I've always been a Mariners fan, and I really loved Dave Niehaus, the play-by-play guy with Seattle for many years. And for me, it just was 2001 Mariners. They just got me, and I've been a fan ever since. So yeah, like all baseball fans, I follow the game with fervor. I just eagerly waiting for every season, and the last day of the World Series for me, it's just a countdown until first day of pitchers and catchers report in spring training. So my playing days ended when I was a teenager, but my passion for the game just continues to grow every day. So with that being said, Bruce, let's hear yours. Let's hear your illustrious career.
So first, so I've been going to games since I was like 4 or 5, right? Never gotten a foul ball. Nico, did you ever got one?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. He's like, everybody gets them. No, yeah, Jason.
I haven't either.
No, right? My son, who's 14, has gotten 2.
Oh, I got one of those stories. I'll share.
Yeah.
When we get to me, I'll share that. Yeah.
But anyway, so I was indoctrinated into baseball as a young child by my grandfather. He had a love for the game. He played when he was in high school and followed forever. He was in the Air Force, so he jumped around. He was all over the place as a young adult, but then settled later in his career in New Jersey and really became a Yankees fan. And I grew up in Ocean County, New Jersey, so we went to Old Yankee Stadium, the better of the 2 stadiums. Old Yankee Stadium, we went to Shea Stadium, we went to Veterans Stadium. Those were every year. Every year we would go to 5-6 games a year from the time that I could probably walk. So I grew up going to games, sitting on the couch, watching them on the TV with him. I still remember watching Reggie Jackson hit those 3 home runs against the Dodgers in that World Series. And when you're little and everyone else in the room is now excited about something, you don't understand what's going on, but you want to understand and you want to be into it. So and I threw myself into the sport. And my grandfather would take me to all my practices, all my games. We would travel. Besides those 3 stadiums, we hit Candlestick Park. We hit Baltimore's Municipal Stadium. So we would go to games in other places before it was cool to do that. And I grew up, I played all throughout my life. I played Little League, I played high school, I played in college. I've been, what I like to say is I had some really great days out there in the sun and have some really great memories and stories of sharing the field with guys like Vlad's dad, Vladimir Guerrero Sr., Pedro Martinez, Manny Ramirez. As I was lucky enough to be scouted heavily in high school and have a chance to go to Cleveland's rookie league team before I had decided I was going to college instead of that route in my life. And being able to do all of that and spend the time on the field has just given me this ingrained love of the game and analyzing what is it, what is it that makes Vladimir Guerrero a $500 million player. Um, I didn't have anybody to show me how to do the things like we do now because I grew up in the Northeast. So we played, end of March, to kind of the beginning of September, but not really at the most. There was no fall ball when I was a kid. We didn't do any of that. So I watched videotapes of Dwight Gooden. I watched videotapes of Tom Seaver. My grandfather was really good about recording what I was doing, and I would watch film and film and film and just teach myself how to do these things. And by teaching myself, I learned a lot about what works, what doesn't work in ways that some other folks don't necessarily have, because they've been taught from a book. Although I did learn from a book, I'm not going to lie about that. Tom House, he's like the professor of pitching to me. If anyone remembers good old Tom House. So that's what got me where I am. I take my 14-year-old to as many games each summer as we can get to. We are hitting as many stadiums as we can hit. Much like Nico, I have a bunch of teams I follow. I won't mention them. I won't go over them. I don't want to color anything I say in the future, but we clearly live near Philadelphia, as you can see with my background. So we go to a lot of Phillies games as well. They're not my favorite team, though. I'm going to tell everybody now. So there we are. That's my background. That's my story, as succinctly as I could do it without starting to go off on a tangent.
Yeah, I mean, we're hoping to do this podcast for a long time, and I think as we go forward, we'll all be able to share a lot more. We have so many, I'm sure, memories and stories we could talk about that we can't fit into this episode. So you hold on to some of those. I know I have a billion that I could tell, but I can say this right off after listening to you guys. Both of your baseball playing careers definitely lasted a lot longer than mine, as Little League was as far as I got, and I was not good. So my love of the game did not come from being a great ball player. I couldn't hit water if I fell out of a boat. So yeah, that's great stuff, guys. I mean, this is really what the page is about, right? Is sharing memories and why the game is so great. There's just something different about baseball. I know the NFL is kind of America's sport now, and it gets all the TV attention. But baseball is still the national pastime, and the history that's there. When you think about how long ago baseball started, it's almost as old as our country itself. So there's something special about it, and that's what caught my attention so quickly. My personal story is probably very similar to a lot of people my age. I was a TBS kid of the '80s. I would go to my grandparents' house a lot when I was a kid, and they watched the Braves on TBS. My grandfather knew a lot about the game, and obviously he had, grown up watching some of the greats. At his age, he was a World War II vet, and so he talked about Ted Williams and Willie Mays and Hank Aaron and all the great players. But when I started as a kid, they were watching the Braves on TBS, and that was what you did at night. You turned on TBS and watched the Braves, and Dale Murphy was kind of my first hero as a baseball player, of course. And beyond that, the Braves broadcasting crew, Skip Carey and Pete Van Wieren and Ernie Johnson, those guys became almost like family because you were listening to them every night. They were funny, they were engaging. The Braves were terrible when I first started watching them, so Skip Carey would have some classic lines about how bad the Braves were, and I think he was half in the tank half the time when he was broadcasting. And if you're not familiar with that, Skip is the son of Harry Carey, the famous Cubs broadcaster, and the father of current Cardinals broadcaster Chip Carey. So, they were in our living rooms every night, and it just became, you watched baseball in the summer. Like every night, I think Nico mentioned this on our last one. Like one of the great things about baseball is it's there all the time during the spring and summer, right? You got a game on almost all the time. So I grew up watching that, and I'll be honest, I didn't really pay much attention to wins and losses, probably because the Braves were terrible. But I also just liked watching the games back then as a kid. First World Series I watched was Red Sox Mets, so that's not a bad one to start with if you want to get excited about baseball. And for whatever reason back then, I was pulling for the Mets in that series, so I got very excited. I think I was 9-ish at that point. And then it just grew from there. I just loved the game. I wanted to know more about the game. I wanted to study the history of the game. I found it fascinating. They were playing the game before 1900. That just fascinated me as a kid. And so I would soak up every bit of baseball history. The Ken Burns documentary. I was probably the only, 14, 15-year-old kid who loved watching that however many hour long documentary from Ken Burns on baseball. And, the Braves eventually got good there at the beginning of the 90s and started to build a consistent franchise. And so that grew it more. I've been to several games. I've been to Fulton County Stadium. That was my first ballpark visit, and actually watched the Braves play the Phillies. So I saw the great Mike Schmidt play that day on my first ballpark visit. And then Turner Field and now Truist. And I've taken my kids, and my son cultivated his love of the game. And we've gotten to watch the Braves win a World Series together, which was amazing. So, there's just something about baseball that grips you. And I definitely caught that fever when I was young. And this page and doing this with you guys and talking to our followers on the page and interacting with fans from all fan bases and at the ballparks is exactly what I dreamed of. I mean, just being able to talk ball with people that love the game like I do. Sometimes you wonder if you're like isolated. Am I the only one that still loves baseball? But the page has proven to me that that's not true at all. So I really appreciate you guys sharing your stories, and that's kind of mine in a nutshell. I know we have a million. I will share very quickly. I took my son Bruce to a Braves game at Turner Field. He was 10 years old, and I have never caught a foul ball to this day. And that night, so we had bought pretty good seats that night. They were already pretty good. We were behind home plate, about midways up, and a gentleman walked by us at one point, and it was just me and him. And he asked us, he said, "Do you want to come down and sit behind the dugout? I've got some extra season tickets that weren't used. Me and my wife are here. I got 2 seats." And it was actually behind the visitors' dugout. I was like, "Yeah, sure." We were playing the Marlins. So we go down, we sit behind the dugout. My son is, just happy as he can be at this point. He had already gotten one ball from batting practice. He was out in the outfield. They were hitting batting practice. He got one. And then he got a foul ball hit to him. And then at the end of the game, one of the Marlins, I don't know if you guys remember Wes Helms, he played for the Braves before that. And he was Marlin this night. He had a cracked bat. It wasn't fully cracked, just a crack that prevented him from using it again. Throws it over up to the top of the dugout to my son. So on this night, my son got 2 balls and a bat. And I'm like, I've been coming to games since I was 10 years old, and I got nothing. First trip, this kid gets that. So he still has the bat, and he gave one of the balls to another kid. I was really proud of him. I didn't ask him to do that. Another kid didn't have a ball. He had 2, so he gave one away. Still has the bat. It's amazing. I haven't come close to catching a foul ball in all the games I've been to, and I've been to a lot. So so really that's it, guys. We wanted to keep this episode a little shorter for you guys, but we wanted to share that so you guys have a little background on us and why we do this, and why we put so much into the page. We put a lot of ourselves into that. I know it's become my passion. I still have a full-time job I have to get to, but this page has become my full-time passion at this point. I love doing it. And so, like I mentioned earlier, just to wrap this up, we will start a week-to-week baseball weekend review next week for episode 3. And then that'll be our regular format with each of these gentlemen who have just an incredible amount of baseball knowledge, sharing for each league so they can be very specific and pass on some great info to all of you listeners. We'll probably jump in with some special episodes here and there. I do want to do some historical, episodes as well, some baseball history stuff, and we'll definitely dive into that. We're still growing, we're still expanding, still exploring all our options with this format. So, Nico, Bruce, did you guys have any final thoughts you wanted to share real quick, and then we'll just kind of wrap this one up?
Yeah, no. So, maybe we can take a second and maybe just talk about our favorite World Series in recent years, or maybe we don't have enough time for that. But No, I mean, like I said, when I joined Jason on the live, we appreciate all of our followers and our support, and we encourage everyone to send us questions and engage with us because we're three baseball guys talking about baseball, sharing our passion and love for the game, and we hope to be doing this for years to come, God willing. So. We're just excited and stoked for the MLB season, and we're looking forward to engaging with our fans and opening up good conversation, and get to watch Bruce and I slug it out on some days. I envision. So no, I'm only kidding, but yeah. So I'm just looking forward to the future, and the World Series question. Maybe we can get into that another time, but. Would be cool to talk about maybe our favorite World Series in recent years. So,
Yeah, I think that might make a really good topic for the first kind of one-off episode where we do some historical stuff. We can.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I've already got a couple in my head that I'm thinking about. So yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome. And a
I
couple
may
that
have
were
revealed mine,
lost.
but
Yeah. Bruce, do you have any final thoughts?
I don't. I'm just looking forward to continuing through this, bringing our audience some really great insights between the three of us, and engaging with them and bringing some of their thoughts into the show, maybe down the road somewhere as we get them to send us some things they want to hear about. That would be great. I'm really looking forward to some of these special episodes we have kind of in the on the agenda. I won't talk about them, but we'll roll them out as we are ready.
Yeah, definitely. We have some good stuff prepared for you guys that we're working on. So I will say really quickly, Trevor Plouffe has to be like super happy if he ever listens to this. He probably won't, but if he did, he got lumped in with David Ortiz and Torrey Hunter. So
That's not
I
bad
like
company,
Trevor
huh?
Plouffe. It's not bad company. I like Trevor Plouffe. I'm not sure he's in that category, but I'm sure Nico wanted to do that shout out. That's awesome. So Trevor, if you ever listen to this, we love you, man, and we lumped you in with two really great players there. So don't forget us, in the future. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. If you have questions for us that you want us to address on the podcast, please feel free to shoot us a message on Messenger. We're always monitoring our Messenger on Facebook. Also, you can email us at baseballromantic77@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to take some of those questions and address them on future episodes. So please feel free to reach out and find us on Facebook. If you haven't already, you probably have if you're listening to this podcast, but if you haven't, we're Romantic About Baseball. Our profile picture is Babe Ruth with sunglasses on. It's pretty easy to find. So please find us on Spotify and iTunes as far as our podcast, and we will talk to everyone next week, and we'll see you at the ballpark. Thanks.
Till next time.